One of the most common questions I get about building natural ponds has to do with plant selection. What is the best pond plant? In this video, I'll discuss 8 of the best pond plants. I'm taking this material right out of my book, Building Natural Ponds, which will tell you everything you need to know about building these kinds of ponds. Many plants can grow in water, but most owners find it beneficial to include several of the following workhorse plants. They are all easy to get, they're long-lived, and they're easy to grow in water. This list also includes some of the most attractive flowering plants. Once you have some of these established, have fun and try some of the more obscure plants. Iris. There are many different types of iris, and when most people hear the name, they think of the very colorful German bearded iris, which does not grow well in water. Many other types of iris will grow as marginal plants in shallow water. Most have vertical grass-like leaves and look very natural beside the water. Irises also have some of the most spectacular flowers you will find in a pond. Most iris form a fleshy root called a tuber. New leaves are produced at the tip of the tuber, and the back part of the tuber slowly dies over several years. You can easily divide plants by simply snapping the tubers into pieces, making sure that each piece has a new growing eye on it. Plant the tubers 2 inches below the surface of the water and place a large stone on them to hold them in place. If the tuber ends up above the water line in late summer, they will be fine as long as the roots are submerged. The following iris species are worth adding to your pond. They are available in many colors and bloom at different times of the year. Select several varieties so that you always have something in flower. The Siberian iris. This iris is easy to grow in normal wet soil, but it does not like to be submerged. It is best in a rain garden or a bog garden, and is ideal for zones 4 to 8. The Japanese iris, Iris ensata. This has some of the most spectacular flowers. It grows in moist soil as well as very shallow water. It does not like to grow in water that freezes solid, but it does fine in my Zone 5 pond. This plant is suitable for zones 3 to 9. The Japanese water iris, Iris laevigata. This is easy to grow in zones 4 to 9 and is available with variegated leaves. This is a true water iris and can be grown in up to 6 inches of water. The Louisiana iris grows taller than the others and has large flowers. These marsh plants like to grow with their tubers underwater, even up to a foot deep, and it grows well in zones 5 to 10. One of the favorite water plants is the water lily, Nymphaea. These are extremely valuable for the ponds. They not only look great and flower well, but the floating leaves provide shade, eliminating the light needed by algae. They also provide a hiding place for fish and other water creatures. Water lilies should cover half of the open space on your pond. That helps create a balanced ecosystem. They do best in quiet water, so keep them away from fountains and waterfalls. Water lilies grow into large plants. The tubers slowly elongate and divide each year, forming larger and larger clumps. Larger varieties will eventually take over the whole pond. They like lots of sun to bloom well, and if they're happy, they will bloom most of the summer and fall. In warm regions, they can bloom all year long. Water lilies are available in 2 major categories, hardy and tropical. The hardy water lilies will grow well and overwinter in cold climates. The tropicals can also be grown in cold climates, but they need to be brought inside for the winter because they can't take frost. The tropical plants are more trouble for gardeners in cool climates, but their flowers are larger and the colors are more luminescent. Many gardeners think the extra effort is worth it. The plants themselves are available in various sizes. Small leaf plants normally have smaller flowers and grow more slowly. Large-leafed ones have the largest flowers and grow faster. Medium-sized ones have characteristics halfway between the small and large. Match the size of plant to the size of pond. Large lilies should be given at least 100 square feet of open water space. The small ones will get lost in a big pond and are more suitable to small ponds and other small water features, including water tubs. These plants are quite adaptable to different water depths, but the large ones prefer being 2 to 3 feet deep, and the small ones like to be 6 to 12 inches deep. If they are a bit too deep, it takes them longer to get the leaf to the surface of the water, but they will get there. Some plants will, over time, grow tubers higher up in the water level, where they like to live. Water lilies are heavy feeders, and many people feed them regularly, but that is not necessary. In a natural pond, the plants need to use the nutrients in the pond and not added fertilizer. In theory, you could lay the tubers on the bottom of the pond and they will grow. The problem is that the tubers float. Therefore, it is better to put them into a pot along with some stones to hold them under the water. Don't use any soil or fertilizer. In a year or two, they will outgrow the pot, and you can just let them do their own thing at the bottom of the pond. When you add a new water lily to the pond, place it on a shallow shelf for a while until leaves grow. Once it is established, lower it to its final depth. Water lilies naturally replace leaves every few weeks. Those that are now too low in the water will simply be replaced with the leaves that have a longer petiole. Hardy water lilies grow in zones 4 to 11, and the flowers come in a variety of colors and shapes. Some even change their color as they age. Most varieties have green leaves, but some have a nice mottled color as well. For cold climate gardeners, these lilies bloom earlier in the year than tropicals, since they will bloom in cold water at 60 degrees Fahrenheit. These easy care plants have no problem in a winter freeze, provided that the tubers are below the ice. In warmer climates, they can flower all year long. Hardies, as they're known, will open their flower in the morning and stay open all day. Late in the day and on cloudy days, they will close their flower. Each flower lasts 3 to 5 days, with new ones continually being formed. An established plant will have several flowers open at any given time. The plants can be left alone to continue growing until they get too big. At some point, you will have to get into the pond and remove the whole clump. If you don't do this every few years, the clump may get too big to remove. At this time, the plant will have made many side branches on the tuber, and you'll be able to break or cut them apart. This will give you a number of young growths that can be replanted, and the rest can be given to friends. Tropical water lilies normally grow in zones 9 to 11, but they can be grown in colder zones as an annual. At the end of the season, bring them into the house over the winter and then return them in spring. These lilies are available as day blooming or night blooming plants. Night bloomers, which tend to be more fragrant, will open their flowers at dusk and keep them open until about 10 a.m. the following day, or a couple hours longer on cloudy days. Day bloomers open at about 9 a.m. and close at 5 p.m. People who work never see their day bloomers open except on weekends. Some varieties of day bloomers stay open until late in the evening. All of these times are approximate and will change with climate, location, and variety. The challenge with tropical water lilies in cold climates is to overwinter them. They need to be capped at a minimum 45 degrees Fahrenheit. The best way to do this is to remove the plant from the pond in fall and cut off all leaves and flowers. You will then be left with round tubers the size of golf balls or even smaller. Pack these in a glass jar along with some damp peat moss and store at 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit for the winter. In spring, take out the tubers and warm them up so that they start to grow. Return them to the pond once the temperature stays above 70 degrees Fahrenheit. One of my favorite is the Marsh Marigold. It is a great addition to shallow water areas. They are easy to grow and flower in late April and May before most other plants bloom. They multiply easily and quickly fill whatever space is allotted to them. Marsh marigolds usually have a single yellow flower, but a white form called alba is also available. Pleno is a yellow double-flowered form. They prefer lots of sun, but flower quite well in a shady spot, which is one reason for their popularity. At 12 inches tall, they can be used to fill a small area around a pond or under larger plants. These plants will grow well in zones 3 to 7, but in a warmer climate, they might die back in the heat of summer. Plant in small stones that stay moist without standing water. They will also do well in 6 inches of water. They require no regular maintenance and can survive winter freezing in ice. The leaves of Marsh Marigold are edible if cooked properly. If they are not cooked well enough, a toxin in them will cause burning of the throat, vomiting, and bloody diarrhea. Think twice about eating it unless you know what you're doing. The cattail is represented by several species of the genus Typha. In North America, Typha latifolia, the broadleaf cattail, and Typha angustifolia, the narrowleaf cattail, are natives. These wetland plants can grow from 3 to 10 feet tall. They are one of the most commonly seen plants in marshy wetlands, and because of this, they add a very natural look to your pond. Typha minima is a dwarf cattail that grows to 3 feet tall and may be more suitable for smaller ponds. The problem with cattails is that they're quite aggressive. Without some management, they will soon fill a large part of a shallow pond. The natural pond design discussed in this book will restrict their growth to the planting shelf, but within a shelf, they can take over. In a shallow earth bottom pond, it will be even more difficult to control their growth. I grow both taller species of cattail in my pond, and neither was planted. Within a few months of filling the pond, the first one started growing from seed blown in from somewhere. I do have to remove excess plants from time to time, but they are such a great plant that I will keep some of them. The narrow, long leaves sway gently in the wind, and dragonflies love to sit on them. In mid to late summer, they produce the characteristic brown cattail, which is a very unusual seed head. It remains on the plant most of the winter and falls apart into fuzzy seeds in early spring. The plants grow best in warm water that is less than 2 feet deep. Once they are well established, the tubers can float out over the water and slowly expand as a floating raft over deeper water. Cattails in larger ponds provide nesting habitat for birds like the red-winged blackbird and various kinds of ducks. They are great at preventing erosion of dams and pond banks. Since these vigorous growers remove a lot of nutrients, they are an excellent way to keep the water clean and algae-free. If all of this growth is allowed to drop back into the pond at the end of the season, then the nutrients will just accumulate over time. For this reason, you should remove the old plant growth in fall or winter. This is easily done if your pond freezes over. Acorus calamus is also known as the sweet flag or scented rush. The sweet in the name comes from the fragrance given off when the leaves or rhizomes are broken or bruised. It is a good addition to a bog or pond because it is easy to grow, and the white in the variegated leaves adds extra interest all summer long. Sweet flag will grow to about 2 1/2 feet and will spread slowly. The green flowers are formed in a weird clump called a spadix. It is unusual, but not particularly ornamental. It can grow in sun or part shade, in moist soil or standing water. Some shade is appreciated in very hot climate and is very adaptable from zones 4 to 11. It is native to Europe, but has naturalized in many areas in the southeast United States. The plant that is normally sold is a triploid, so it does not make seeds. This helps control its spread in the wild and in your garden. The variegated form of sweet flag has a creamy white stripe beside a green stripe and grows about 2 feet tall. It is more popular, but does grow slower than the green form. The plant is easy to propagate by splitting the rhizome, similar to an iris. It goes fully dormant in winter and has no problem being frozen in ice. Sagittaria latifolia, the arrowhead plant, provides unique arrow-shaped leaves as well as a dainty white flower. It is easy to grow in shallow water and does best in full sun where it flowers well, but it can also take part shade. The flowers appear above the leaves and can reach up to 3 feet above the water. This North American native should be planted in 6 to 12 inches of water. It grows fine in zones 4 to 10, where it does not need special winter protection. Arrowhead is also called duck potato, which refers to the starchy golf ball sized tubers it forms at the end of the rhizome. These can break off and float on top of the water. They can be boiled or baked and eaten like a potato. Waterfowl also like them, hence the name duck potato. Pickerel weed is native to North America, where it covers a wide range from Nova Scotia to Florida and west to Texas. Hardy in zones 3 to 10, it will grow in almost any condition, provided its roots are in water. It needs no special winter care, and full sun provides the best flowering. Flowers develop in late summer as a 3 to 6 inch flower cluster that is very showy. A white flowering form exists, but most people prefer the blue ones. Flowers open from the bottom of the spike to the top, providing a long display. The nectar attracts insects, including bees and butterflies. The plant grows to 2 to 4 feet and can be planted in 6 inches of water. It spreads rapidly using rhizomes to form a dense colony that are great for cleaning nutrients out of water. It is easily divided by breaking the rhizome into pieces and making sure that each piece has one growing eye. The seeds, which can be eaten raw right from the plant or dried and stored for future use, make a good addition to a granola cereal. The umbrella palm is related to papyrus and forms a very unusual stem with leaves at the top in the shape of an umbrella. This plant gives the pond a very tropical look. It will grow in sun or part shade and has inconspicuous green flowers. As it grows, it forms a tight bunch that does not spread. Plant at 2 to 6 inches deep. Smaller varieties prefer less water. Plant larger ones deeper. The name of this species and some varieties is very mixed up in the marketplace, and it is likely that any plant you buy is mislabeled. Look at the size of the plant you buy instead of trying to sort out the right name. The following varieties are available. Gracilis is a dwarf umbrella pond that grows to about 2 feet tall. Variegatus, the variegated dwarf umbrella pond, grows to 2 feet and has variegated stems and leaves. If stems grow that are all green, cut them off or they will take over the plant. Cyperus involucratus, the giant or large umbrella palm, grows to about 5 feet. None of the umbrella palms can be overwintered in cold weather. Take the plants inside in fall and grow them as houseplants in normal soil until spring, when you can return them back to the pond. Alternatively, cut off all the foliage and store in a cool, dark place like a fruit cellar or a garage that does not freeze. In spring, warm up the plant and return it to the pond. If you use these plants in your pond, you'll have great success. Now, if you want to know more about building natural ponds, here's a video that explains all of the secrets for making your ponds algae-free.